I am Pamela Aaralyn. I am from aurareader.com. Namaste. Nice to meet you. Um, I'm a clear channel of many beings, particularly angelic beings, but also many extraterrestrial beings that are from higher dimensions. You know, particularly the 7th through the 11th dimension is who I like to work with. I love some ascended beings, Yeshua in particular, Mother Mary in particular. I channel through a higher source aspect called Astrea from the Lyran Syrian Council. So there you go. That's me. Nice to meet you. I'm also an aura reader, and you can find me at aurareader.com. So yeah, I'll go ahead and answer that question for you. Many people have been asking me this. Why do you have this Australian accent that's coming out? I am a channel. What that means, I will give it to you in the most basic explanation. If the beings that I channel were telephone poles, I am the wire. I am the conduit. So what that means for me is that I am just a human body and presence that's here to send messages of a higher degree to you. And I don't negate messages. I don't change them or anything of that nature. So right now I am visiting a different country. Right now I am in Australia. So I happen to be around many, many beings that are very different from the ones I normally channel. And also not just higher beings, but human beings. I am a channel to human beings as well. If I am around human beings and they have a specific energy, I begin to pick it up. My body begins to respond. So I'm trying to tone it down and keep my own accent involved, but it's very, very difficult as a channel to do that. So that's why, just so you know. Today we're going to be channeling in the Archangel Metatron. And how we do this, how we decide, our spiritual family goes into my Facebook group, which you can join for free, by the way. We're always discussing things like this on facebook.com/groups/aura reader. And we, weekly to bi-weekly, what we've been doing, we've been trying to make this more something that we do on a more regular basis. We go in and we vote on which archangel you like to hear from, and also which being in general you like to hear from. Once a month or so, we channel ascended beings. Next month, we have Mother Mary coming up smack in the middle of December. So yeah, we have that, but weekly to bi-weekly, what we've been trying to do is to give you a chance to vote on which archangel you want to hear from next. And prior to this, you voted for Michael, and we had a brilliant time, and he was amazing. And this past week, you voted on Metatron, which is an interesting being to me. And I will tell you a little bit about my background with him, which is very, very little. Much like Michael, he is one of the two that I don't channel very often. He's not around me very often. Many people assume that with clear conduit channels that we always have these beings around us. And yes, we do, but we have them for purposes that affect other people. I'm so used to beings around me that I don't even try to figure out who's who anymore. I just kind of walk by and go, oh, hello, you know, and mostly they're for other people. So Metatron and Michael, these are two beings that would come in during your individual sessions with me. In particular, they would just show up and say, I'm here to give a message to this person as a clear conduit channel. I'm used to that. I give the message, say goodbye, that's it. Not a lot of personal work with these things. And now that I've been channeling them publicly for you, I've had the wonderful, amazing opportunity to get a lot closer to these beings because they're always there for other people, and I'm just channeling the message and giving it to you, and that's all that I've ever really done. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, so there's an angel, and that's what he says. And because I love the ether, and I am an ether traveler, I love astral travel, so I've been seeing these beings in my dream time since age 5. The first being that came to me was an angel, so, and it wasn't Metatron, and it wasn't Michael. But the first thing that came to me was an angelic presence. So that's how I got my start with them. And they don't really talk to me because all of the things that come through, I feel that they come through so fast, and I don't really have that personal knowingness with angels yet. I'm learning like you are, and I've just channeled them for you. So for me to publicly channel them and get really, really close to them and really learn about why they're here and what they're doing for the Human Conscious Collective has been a journey. And I've really, really enjoyed it. And I'm enjoying Metatron. So it's been very, very different. I will tell you a little bit about his background I began to see him around age 7. Something about the number 7 comes. The number 7, the number 717, the number 777. Any variation of 7 comes whenever I see him. He is all into sacred geometry, the number 7, numbers in general, but especially 7. He is a very scientific being that seems to want to connect everything. He likes to connect the dots. He is an angel that represents clarity to me. So clarity is something that he just clears everything out, and I haven't felt so emotionally in my heart center when I channel this being. I have felt very crown centered, very much connected to divine ancient wisdom and knowledge. I felt more connected to sacred geometry. Um, I felt really connected to so much to do with a higher perspective where I feel like I'm looking down at the grid a little bit more and connecting the dots more than I ever have. And I really, really have appreciated his presence because it has expanded my perspective so immensely and kind of got me out of my empathic, clairsentient, I feel this, I feel that. And what I've been saying when I channel him this past week is, I know this and I know that, and I'm clear about this and I'm clear about that. So he's an angel of thought clarity, where he has described to me that manifestation is key and operating in the now is key. So he doesn't seem to prefer for me to focus on the past or the future. Even when I'm thinking about manifesting the future, he says, do it from the point of the now. Very much like Michael was saying that as well. So time seems to be just bending. It's either going more quickly or more slowly. That's another thing that I've been noticing. Um, Especially the time that I enjoy. I enjoy it so much that it's just been flying out of my hands. And the time that I don't, it just seems like it's slowing down so that I have to focus on those things more. So time has been doing interesting things. Someone in chat is saying, drink a lot of water when you're channeling him. I absolutely am. I'm drinking some water right now that has a little bit of jasmine pearl tea in it. But anyway, I've been doing a lot more cleansing. I should be doing a lot more grounding. I will advise you of that if you channel him, try to stay a little bit more grounded. He can raise the light body so quickly, so fast, that the physical body has a little bit of a hard time keeping up. So one of the things that I noticed is that I woke up this morning with a nice big red rash all the way across my face. So, and I'm a sensitive being with my body and my skin and my food. I have to be particularly cautious about what I eat and what I drink as a clear channel. And he instructed me yesterday, eat this and then don't eat anything more. And then if you eat anything more after 6 p.m. when you channel me, you're going to have a hard time. And of course I did. I ate more, and it was just fruit. And I'm like, oh, it's just fruit. It's just kiwi. No big deal. And he's like, okay, if you're going to eat the kiwi, don't eat the skin. I'm like, no, I really won't eat the skin. I'm stubborn. You can tell me so many times as a channel like what to do, and they're angels, so I shouldn't say no. But I'm like, no, really, what can it hurt? I'm just a little kid who hasn't grown up. So I ate it. And I woke up this morning with this really itchy feeling all over my face. And he was there and he said, kiwi. I said, I know. Yeah, but I'm okay now. Someone's asking me if I'm okay. It's slowly dissipating the more I drink my green tea and my water. It's coming out. So let's go straight into talking about how he looks. Some of you asked me how he looks, if he has wings, things of that nature. He does have something that is similar to wings. That did shock me, but they aren't. I'm going to try as I can to explain this, but they're huge. He's huge. He's if I could compare him to the size that I see when I see Michael, I would say bigger. There's a lot of bright light around. I'm having a hard time sleeping when he's around because he emits such a bright light that even though my eyes are closed and I'm sleeping, I'm still clairvoyantly sensing and seeing the light from third eye perspective with my eyes closed. So I'm like, okay, I'm seeing all of my chakras while I'm trying to sleep expand out and out and out, and it feels like the lights in the room are on via the colors of my own chakra system. So he's very good at taking what's within and putting it out here so that you can see what's going on. So I would see larger versions of my own chakra system in my third eye while I was trying to sleep in particular. So someone asked me, does he have dark skin? He doesn't really have any particular skin. He is a light being, and I don't notice skin at all. I don't notice anything like that. I don't notice hair or skin or anything that remotely looks human. What I've noticed from other people who channel him is that not just Metatron, but many archangels like to take an appearance that would be comfortable to you. So they do choose sometimes a human form. When he chooses a human form, he does have a bit of a darker skin presence and some almost white type of hair that looks very Melchizedek. So, and very piercing eyes, you know, that are almost like a blue. So he does take that form for some people. He does not take that form for me. He shows me more of the form that he actually is in, which doesn't look human at all, so it's going to be hard for me to explain. But the whole wing thing, not really. Not really with most angels. That's a perception that they lend towards humans, okay, so that we feel comfortable and safe. But when I see them, most of the time they don't. He has something that surrounds him that comes from the back. And it, to me, it looks a little bit more like large flashes of energy that stem from the Merkaba, but out the back. And then it goes out like this in streams of light. It just goes out. And then he'll have a ray. And there are different rays, a different color, and each of those rays surround him, and they come out the back like they would be wings, but they just keep going, and they just go in rays like that. So you'll have a silver one, and it goes out and up like that, and around his head there is definitely a halo effect with several colors, some of which I cannot identify because they do not look human, and the only reason why I'm able to say what they are is because I do see the cones in my human eyes are adjusted based upon my clairvoyant etheric gifts. So I can see a lot more colors that I can't define to you because they're not human color. So I don't really have a point of reference except to be able to see them. So there's a lot of colors that I can't identify in human ray. And they extend around a halo that goes above his head. And there's hundreds of them, not just one or two or five or seven. There are hundreds of them. And then out the back, it just goes, like I said, there's a ray here and it goes out, and then there's a ray there and it goes out and up like that, and then there's a ray there and it goes out, and it just keeps going, you know, like that. That makes any sense. Yeah, describing them is a little difficult when you don't have a reference point. So no skin, no hair, just a big, brilliant, bold light being with tons and tons of color. He also comes to me in a sacred shape that appears to me to look a little bit like the flower of life, except that it has 7 points, 6 of which are on the edges of a circle. So there is a circle that surrounds him that he comes within, and I see that shape first. And there are 6 points, three that are on top, one here in the circle, and then one over here, and then one over here, and then there are 3 more, you know, 2 on the side, and then 1 at the bottom, and then there's a point in the center. So that is the shape that I'm seeing, and behind these circles are patterns that appear to me to look like what we know is the flower of life. So it's similar to that. It's not exactly that, but it's similar to that with all these shapes. And then if you look at those shapes, then you see more shapes within those shapes and more shapes within those shapes. So it's very intricate. What else can I say about how he looks? His color is changing a lot. It's very translucent. It is shifting. If light hits him a certain way, the colors will shift based upon what you need. And because he is very strongly into alchemy and transmutation, that is going to be, and someone asked me in chat, are the rays of his light waving? Yes, they are. They are moving. And I'm a synesthete. I have synesthesia, so I can see the way that the energy is moving. So as these rays are coming from him, they're also moving kind of like this. They're in just very quickly, like little waves. So yes, that is happening. What else can I say about him? I don't see him carrying any tools or anything like that. Michael carried a big giant sword. This one, not so much. This one is more quiet. His personality appears to be, to me, to be more serious. to be more clear. He operates with Michael, I felt a lot of comfort and safety and strength. With Metatron, I've been feeling a lot less emotion and a lot more clarity of thought, a lot more of a calm, centered state of my being. And that's kind of how he is too. So, if anyone's having trouble with the sound, I really do suggest that you reload your Spreecast. It makes a big difference. Let's see. What else can I tell you? He is a frequency being. So he likes alchemy. He likes combinations of light and sound. His sense of humor, someone is asking me, does he have a sense of humor? Yes, but it's a little crass. It's a little not necessarily bad or negative or classless, but just it's no sarcasm. There's no sarcasm. There are things that he says, and I would think that it would be sarcastic and when he's trying to make a joke, and it's not. He's being very clear. I think it's funny, and he's not laughing. And I'm like, oh, that was a little sarcastic joke. And he's like, just like that, very direct, very serious. He can be funny, but when he does say it, he says it with a very straight face, and he doesn't even mean it to be funny. He means it serious, but my human nature begins to laugh automatically. So to me, he's funny, but to him, he's just being who he is, and he's being very, very clear. So what is his frequency? 928 is coming across very succinctly. 1111. I didn't expect that one. He told me that one yesterday. 717, 777, 1770, 1717. That's something that has been channeled. He has a lot of frequencies he operates within. He, like me, is a bit of a frequency nut. So I've been having a lot of fun with channeling sacred frequencies, and I did channel a sacred frequency that came through from him yesterday, and that will be on YouTube soon. So keep your eyes open for that. We did channel some sacred frequencies and some toning that came out through him. Someone is asking me, does he wear robes? No, not so much. In their original forms, they don't really come in with clothes. I've never really noticed that. I do notice that with guardian angels, that sometimes they will come in with robes, white robes, linen robes, with the golden sashes and purple sashes, and sometimes a rope around the waist. He's messing with my light pretty strongly, so you'll see my light, coming in and out and in and out, and hopefully he won't knock off the Spreecast like Michael did last time. So people have been asking me about how I've been sleeping and eating and functioning as in my physical human body. Since then, I've been ravenous with food. I've been wanting to eat. I will eat, and then 2 hours later, I'm like, I am hungry. No reason, because I just ate a boatload of food. So someone else is asking, is he with or without gender? It's without. Most of the angelic beings come in a very androgynous presence of not really being one or the other. Michael does come in. He did come in with a strong dominant male presence that is divine masculine. Metatron comes in for the new era of balancing divine feminine and balancing divine masculine, so that we cannot really be so choosing of a dualistic nature. So he's very much into not choosing one or the other. Someone is asking, do archangels have different color rings, and what is the ranks? They're not really keen on ranking or defining or things that we think and things that we write about. They do have a basic order of angels, and if you're archangel, you come in, and they only rank themselves so that humans understand that they're there and that they're serious about helping them. But amongst themselves, they don't really rank each other. The only reason why that is a human perception is so that we understand which angels are responsible for certain things that come in through our purposes, and we come in through soul streams, and certain angels are responsible for the soul streams through which we're born. Soul streams are large soul families of humans. So if you come in through the soul stream that Michael's responsible for, you will notice him around you a lot more often. Um, yeah, that's fun. I come in through a soul stream of send often, by the way. Someone asked me that question, so I just thought I would let you know. Uh, let's go ahead, and get a little bit of a perspective from him because he did channel a message through me last night. I am not going to trance channel him because as I was trying to trance channel Michael last time, it knocked me on my rear end. So I'm also a very human grounded being, and I prefer to keep my body that way. So he is standing in front of me, and I am just going to repeat exactly back what he states. And then after he's done, I'm going to start answering your questions. You can ask your questions at the bottom of the screen where it says viewer questions and suggestions. Put your question in the box, hit enter, it will show up. I realize and I'm aware that you can't see your questions posted, but my producer Jim can. So he will be putting the questions up in the order of first come, first serve, and we will get to them as we can. I cannot promise you that I will get to all of them within this brief amount of time that we have today, but I will go quickly and I will do my best. We are not going to be taking people on screen today because of the short amount of time that we have together. And because of the amount of frequency that he brings in, he actually knocks people off the screen. So he made it clear to me that I should, just as Michael did, not put people on the screen or we will have technical problems in a vast degree. So yeah, if you have questions, put them in the viewer questions and suggestions box, and then we will go from there, and I will be answering your questions. And as I answer them, I will place them in a box above my head, right up here. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can breathe for a moment and just let him talk and tell you exactly what he's saying because he is a bit of a science nut. I am not, and I don't understand some of the things he's saying. So we'll have to ask him further after he says these things, okay? This is an overview of the spiritual evolution you are currently experiencing. And this may help give you a higher perspective and an expanded perspective for the times, these unique times in which you live. Since our archangels have been more active in your recent time of the human conscious collective awakening, the expanded perspective that we are providing can now help you see how important these star seeds are to your evolution. You are star seeds. You are not merely human. Your old forms of your reality are crumbling around you like a tower. At the same time, your Earth's energy is gathering an accumulation of this power that will motivate the collective impulsive so that multitudes of humans will reach brand new plateaus of spiritual experiences and will create simultaneous global awakenings. The prime creators who formed your Earth planted chronometers that measure evolution of consciousness. The human species also was coded to lead people into their divine blueprint. When enough people have awakened, the gates in your 11th dimension are opened, and this allows the Earth's wisdom to be transformed and transmitted. That is in process at this time. You are coded to move with the masses. This may cause frustration. Please do not allow this to cause fear. What you want, this frustration can cause what you want to be further along in your evolution, especially if you align with fear. Especially with your visionary sense of what is even possible, this requires expanded amounts of patience. Please know that as you share what you know and allow yourself to be in these frequencies of higher dimensional reality, this vibration will be broadcast around your world. As the codings for awakening are fired onto your Earth, the masses of humanity evolve. All is time-coded and interlinked to respond to the sacred patterns for the awakenings of all souls to their greater divinity and identity. This is where I come in. You are here to bring heaven to earth. This is the most simple way I can choose to garner your understanding. In the human chakra system, I am the seventh chakra connection to what you know as heaven, and I represent unity consciousness. Archangel Sandalphon is your first chakra connection to earth, representing the power of your well-being. These two archangels become key players in your ability to transcend your third dimensional realities and bring higher frequency awareness to earth. This assists the development of a deeper awakening of your planet. You volunteered to be here for this time. Please understand that this was a human choice. You are not victims. Please stand in your power within this wisdom. Your souls were encoded with the blueprint of awakening conscious to be present at this time. Throughout the lifetime of those in your generation, these codes are now being fired and activated. In your 1960s, this was the beginning of time codes to create this momentum for what is now the awakening. Different events, and especially your gifted humans, were making their voices heard during the time of your 1960s, and some were even killed in very public ways. But all were a part of this awakening of consciousness. Much of your music and books of that time had codes embedded in them as well that acted as firing signatures to spark the shift of human awareness on your planet. This is why sound is important. This is why words are important. The words in your books, the sounds in your music, the shapes in your sacred geometry are all codes to wake you up now. They are all safe. During your human time of the 1960s, high levels of ideals sprang forward into being. These ideals sprang into beingness that related to more clarity around the requirements to sustain your earth, to sustain your healthy lifestyles, to sustain the rights within the divine feminine, what you called women's rights, and to expand the areas of human consciousness that continue to expand today. He wants me to talk faster than I can, and I'm trying. Give me a moment. Over the next 20 years, thousands explored what you know as India and Tibet and discovered Eastern teachings that previously were only available to a select few. Yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, and other forms of healthy energy movement became mainstream. Then came the next coding for a mass spiritual awakening, which occurred during the harmonic convergence in 1987 and marked the beginning of 25 years of massive change. Your older structures became obsolete and began to crumble. Mass spiritual awakening began, recognized in your prophecies and in your prophets by nearly every indigenous person on the planet. December the 21st, 2012 was a completion of a 26,000-year cycle of life as we have known it. It is said to also be the beginnings of what some have called the Age of Aquarius, a new 26,000-year cycle of peace on this planet. Since the end of 2012, you have been in a paradigm that straddled the third and the fifth dimensions. You are now in the middle. Nothing is really the same. Since that time, you have all been finding your way through a process of discovering what is possible that was not available before. This world has been seeded for you to embrace in these new ways. It is a world that contains all the beauty and ideals that you most desire in your heart and brought with you to this lifetime. Divine light is now permeating your abilities to create in ways that may seem almost magical, because that which you most desire is more tangible. Because the time is here now for you to receive a gift from the heavenly realms for your awakening process, the veils that parted to reveal unity consciousness, a spiritual attribute that is available for you now from the archangels and through which the Metatronic energy frequencies work. Through my all-seeing eyes and the impulses of the creative source of all that is, it is my format for evolution of consciousness that makes up for the soul's blueprint for new life awakening and for each being that is now here on earth. In accordance with the archangels, there was a flood on earth. This flood is with light at this point, no longer with water. This flood impulses and fires the hearts and the souls of those who await their soul mission. You have always known that you are here for a greater purpose. This drive within you left you hungry for wisdom and hungry for knowledge of something which you weren't aware. It is the soul's way of steering you towards this path. All that you have done, all that you have known, all that you have explored through your life has led you here to this awakening of spiritual consciousness on earth. Your presence and focus and attention on the light of the divine presence is impulsing hundreds and thousands of people to also awaken. And the majority of people on earth and on this planet are feeling the stirrings in their hearts, the desire for something greater and for something more meaningful. You are here now for this. Please wake up. Hey, that's all that he said today. He's talking so fast. I'm like, let me breathe for a moment. I'm not really a quick mover. Not to mention, I just woke up. Now I'm going to begin to answer your questions, both from chat and from the viewer questions and suggestions. Okay. The question here from Papender is, there are people who remove negative implants. I want to know if it's beneficial to do so. I've also heard about J seals. I heard it's good to have them removed. If we do so, can we see you guys sooner or be more spiritually awake? He states, the human perception and perspective of removal or addition of anything is just that. It is but perception. It is not fully necessary to remove anything within your bodies, minds, or spirits. This supports a perception of ill health, spiritually or mentally or physically. This supports a perception that you are fragmented and that you are not completely perfect as is. You are not separated. You are not fragmented. You are whole. What is within you is there for a purpose. If you feel that something should be removed and that isn't natural, perhaps it's time to accept exactly who you are. You are a natural being. You are perfect as you are. You can become close to me whenever you should choose. You can command that power. You can ask for me at any point in time. You are source. There is no need to remove. That is the human perception. If you choose for that to mean that you can awaken faster, then you shall manifest that into an existence. If that is within your divine belief system, if that is within your blueprint that you can awaken faster, if that is within your belief, then that will occur regardless of what you choose to believe. Your belief system causes you to awaken faster, not the removal or addition of anything. Someone said in chat, yeah, he's tough. Yes, he actually made pretty clear. I don't really feel it as a tough energy. I felt that more with Archangel Michael. But with Metatron, I feel myself just constantly clearing my entire chakra system, constantly cleansing, constantly standing in clarity where I'm not feeling any levels of toughness. I'm just feeling like this is what he says, this is what he is, and that is what it is. That's the best way I can describe it. Let's answer another question. This question is from Alina. I'm sorry, this is from Allah. I would like to ask about energy, how to feel better. I'm sorry, how to be able to feel energies better, like crystals, other people, and how to work with energy patterns. He said you have individual blueprints and individual codes within your human bodies and human chakra systems. They are there for your well-being. They are there to awaken your unique etheric gifts and abilities. You can feel energies more clearly the moment you believe that you can. When you focus on your individual chakra systems, find the stronger ones. If you specifically operate through the sacral chakra frequency, you will have a specific code that aligns to that that will be shown to you in synchronicities. You can ask me this during your sleeping states, during your meditation states, during any states that involves clarity of thought. Ask, and those specific sacred geometrical patterns will be shown to you to awaken the chakra systems so that you can operate individually and specifically through your blueprints, through your specific divine nature. It's not merely that humans are awakening in a big pattern for the blueprints of the codes that come through the human conscious collective, but they also come through individual patterns based upon your individual spiritual purposes. Source operates individually with specific purposes through each of you. Find those purposes by connecting to your sacred geometrical patterns and operate through your strongest chakra systems. This will cause your gifts to blossom and to develop. You will have specific crystals that you work with most. Some of you work through pointed crystals. Some of you like to create grids. I find grids incredibly beneficial. Grids with crystals that call to you, that you choose based upon your specific blueprints. Grids that you create based upon your guidance from source within will be very helpful in working with your individual energy patterns to awaken you individually, and then you can help others. Okay. Oh, I love this question. Let's put this one on the screen. Thank you, Allah. David is asking, what is your origin story? How does it relate to Enoch? I like your cube, by the way. I did get a little smile out of him for that and a nod. He kind of, I'll try to replicate it. He went like this. He does that to me a lot. So he can be very, very kind and very succinct, but the smiles come few and far between when he's trying to relay information very, very quickly, especially through a clear conduit channel who likes to talk very slowly when she wakes up. He's going, "Da, da, 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 da," and I'm going, give me a minute, I haven't had any tea. So he and I are still aligning right now. So I'll let you tell the story of Enoch. He said, I have not incarnated but once, and I did incarnate through the human that you know as Enoch, who the story through which of Enoch walking through God, walking with God and through God is quite accurate. Wanted to ask him in my mind, did you mean through God? Because the story is walking with God. And he said, no, don't correct that. It is walking with God and through God. Here you go. So he said, Enoch has been incarnating and reincarnating on your earth for as long as you know of time, for over 4,000 years. Enoch began in the times of the beings of what you know as ancient Mesopotamia. He came in through a group of beings that you know as the Essenes. That's spelled Essenes. He is one of your human original prophets. He ascended Earth duality very quickly by aligning his physical body with his light body. He is a master of what you now know as bilocation. He is a master of all dimensions. He ascended rather quickly, but then he chose to continue to stay in a human form. When he finally ascended, he became what you know of as Nephilim. That is spelled Nephilin. He entered into the Nephilim presence on earth when they were embodied. They went in various directions that became very dualistic in nature. He did not choose this dualism. Many did, he did not. At that point of his Nephilim existence was when he began to be known as Archangel Metatron, and then he ascended into an Elohim being thereafter. I have been an Elohim being since that time of ascension from the Nephilim presence. He is causing an aching in my physical being that begins from my root chakra at the bottom, at the base of my spine, and extends through each chakra system, and I can feel it going through each portion of my spine, through each little part of my spine, all the way up, and it pings like this when it channels, and it goes up and up and up, and then out through the pineal and the crown. So that is something that I've been noticing that he's doing, and it's a little uncomfortable, quite frankly. That's why I kind of keep moving around. I'm like, oh gosh, do you really have to do that? But he is activating chakra systems when he works through channels as well, so it's very helpful for me, and then I get to spend the rest of the day in a very clear space. So yes, someone's asking, was Metatron a human? Absolutely. Absolutely. He was a human. A question that is being asked right now is, can archangels be humans? They can. He is one of only two that I've noticed actually was a human. So he is kind of a rarity, and he began as a Nephilim. And Nephilim were hybrid types of humans that weren't full humans at that particular point in time, and there was a lot of war on Earth during the time of Nephilim. And he's right that from my perspective, I've noticed from my perspective of the Akashic records when viewing the Nephilim that some of them definitely fought and entered war stages and things of that nature. He did not choose to. So yeah, David is saying in chat that they were what is known as giants. They were what humans know as giants, and that's why some of the angels are seen as very tall. That is absolutely accurate. He's nodding his head. Someone is asking, was Goliath a part of the Nephilim? Metatron is nodding a big yes to that. Titans, were they a part of the Nephilim? He's also nodding yes to that. Let's take another question from underneath the screen in the viewer questions and suggestions. This question is from Mikhail. I love this beautiful soul, and I can never say her name right, and I know I just butchered it. I'm sorry. Okay, it's a good question. Would you comment on the changes in the Hadron Collider purported to have damaged the day of the Paris terrorist attack, Friday the 13th? He states, this is the human nature from source within humans to go simply overboard in their nature to play God. Play God. Okay, good. You are playing God at individual levels. You are playing God in human conscious collective levels. When you play God, this is very, very, very beautiful and at times cataclysmic and at times devastating. This is the nature of Earth. The Hadron Collider has been changing. It has been growing in its power. Your human researchers have been working with and playing God within this particular machine that controls dimensions. This machine opens and closes dimensions and has been doing so. It is connected to the Paris event, but many things were. Your human collective nature, the energy of the human conscious collective nature, is something that did cause this as well. You hold a human conscious collective nature of disempowerment. The repression of France in particular, the feeling states of repression and disempowerment caused this event, not just the Hadron Collider. The Hadron Collider is causing devastating events all throughout your Earth, but not just this one. It held a small point of reference towards this event, but generally, your human conscious collective nature of disempowerment caused this event. And more events, unfortunately, will occur thereafter. Not in Paris now, but in various places all throughout the world, terrorism may unfortunately become a larger scale event. You can prevent this if you should start now. Join forces, join your spiritual families, find the beings within your soul stream, find the beings that connect in your blueprint, find them and join together. The power of the Merkaba force within you, when joined together, can stop these events well in advance. Stay close to each other. Do what you do to activate the light amongst you, but do this together as a collective, and you can change your human conscious collective frequencies enough to stop these events. Stay in the higher frequencies. Do what you can to reside there, together and individually, and these events will cease. Someone is asking in chat, when he says disempowerment, he means one trying to oppress another. He is nodding to that. He said there are levels of collective oppression that are occurring. And when you allow individually and collectively for that disempowerment to affect you and to oppress you, and you become collective victims, then this occurs. So yes, I agree with him to stay out of disempowerment, but we can change this. I am perceiving that many people are going towards guided meditations and collective prayer groups and energy frequency healings. This is why I began to offer my sacred frequencies more publicly and to invite all of you so that we could do it together. This is one of the reasons why I do this. This is one of the reasons why I share what I'm sharing here with you today, so that we can stay in these frequencies. I completely agree with him. Someone is asking a question in chat. How do we find out who we share blueprints with? He says you will formulate a knowingness in your precognitive nature. You will simply know. If you have to question, then the answer is no. It's so clear. I'm standing a little bit over here, by the way, off to the side. And I'm really, really thirsty. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever been this thirsty when channeling an archangel. Let's answer another question. This question is from JJ. And he states, I have OCD and I have a hard time controlling my obsessive thoughts. What are some things I can do to help, or insights you may have? He states, when you allow for them to disempower you and control you, that becomes a factor that will cause obsession. Fear causes obsession. Disempowerment causes fear. These two factors aren't playing well within one another. Lose your resistance to each. Lose your resistance to go further in what you are obsessed over. Sink deeper within your obsession to the extent that it can become a gift, to the extent that it can become an ability. When you sink into your obsession, it becomes a practice. The reason why it is deemed and defined in your mind as an obsession is because there is something within it, even at a small nature or a grand nature, depending upon what it is that you are obsessed with. The obsession is trying to show you something deeper. Find out what each obsession is trying to show you. You are obsessed because you are gifted, because you have stronger abilities that you are ignoring. What you know as obsessive compulsive disorder is not a disorder. You are not diseased. You are not imperfect. When you view this as an ability of your angels and guides and of your divine presence showing you in beautiful synchronicities exactly what you need to be focused on, then you will understand that what you perceive as small is significant. What you are perceiving of as fractured is whole. There are signs within signs within signs. Look for the deeper nature in what you perceive as minute, and what you perceive as small, and what you perceive as nothingness. And you will receive the grand nature of all those within you, within your unique gifts. And then if you must be obsessed, you will be obsessed upon all of the things that matter to you. You say to yourself that these minor things don't matter, but when you understand how they do, then this will change and shift from obsession to abundance, from obsession to abilities and motion and action and flow. Obsession will eventually become your flow. Pay attention to the patterns therein. I'm showing them to everyone within your obsession. You are not sick. Steve. Okay. Let's take another question. Questions are above my head, by the way, for those of you who don't know. The question is as follows. You're also helping with children's issues. How can we handle situations in our children's lives, knowing that they attract some problems based on karmic contracts, but still wanting to protect them from experiencing difficulties in their lives? For example, to protect them from a teacher who misuses his power on a regular basis. In a reading, I've been told that my daughter attracts situations which I have experienced before. Now, when you ask your questions, make sure, guys, that you keep them rather short, because this question I feel was cut off. I feel like she wants to say more to me. So if you're wanting to say more to me, put it in chat right now so I can see it. Put it in our live interactive chat. Let's answer that question. He states, if you lose and release resistance to your knowingness of karma, release what you define as karma as being a factor. Karma has changed. It has changed so vastly that you don't need to protect children any further. They are actually further awakened and further aligned and further along than you as adults at this present moment. The children are here to parent you. Empower them and give them the knowledge and the strength and the grounded, safe response. Give them a safe spot from which they can flourish, be their safety, be their comfort, be a spot of empowerment, be a place of empowerment. Connect the dots to connect them to me and to connect them through all the archangels around them, to connect them to all of the divinity within them. Teach them that nothing is extraneous. Teach them their own divinity. Teach them the I am. Teach them all that is. They shall not be aligned towards anything that would abuse their power if this is the case. Show them their own divinity. Change their alignment. Do not focus on the karma. Do not focus on the need to protect. Do not focus on anything that should embody a fierce state. And then she shall not attract any of that. Oh, that's an interesting question that someone just put in my chat. She said, well, it's a statement rather. She said, I feel that my daughters teach me more than I teach them. Yes, he's nodding to that. And the person who asked this question is continuing to state, but what if my daughter is resisting spirituality? He says, within her resistance, she will continue to align to those disempowering situations until her ego is causing her to sink further into the beliefs that created this. Allow her ego to reside and preside until there can be no further resistance. This will cause for more alignment towards disempowerment. As a parent, this is difficult, but you shall align to such if you go within that disempowerment state. Don't join her disempowered state. Don't perpetuate it, please. If she is resisting spirituality, then what she resists shall continue until the ego is less of a perception of fragmentation, until the ego is less in control. This will break down the ego further and further and further until disempowerment becomes so much of a factor that she wants something new. She will want the opposite. If she falls into a disempowered zone, she will naturally long for the opposite due to the duality of being on earth. This is the nature of her being. This is the nature of all of your beings. Let her have exactly what she thinks she wants. Stand back and trust that Source is guiding. Trust it. No fear. I feel the fear in you as a mother. Give that to me. Give that to Source within you. Release that fear. Someone said it looks like your coffee is working, huh? I'm not drinking coffee. That's the problem. So no, it's not working. Let's take a further question. Okay, this question is from Joel or Joel. I'm not sure how to pronounce that because I don't understand the Hebrew pronunciation. So if I have butchered that, I apologize in advance. Let's see. The question is, many of the archangel names have a suffix of El, E-L, he's nodding, which in Hebrew means God. Are all these names originated by Hebrew tradition, or do they predate them? He is nodding and stated that it's the latter, they predate them. And incidentally, are the name El and Elohim originated by the Hebrew Jewish tradition, or do they predate them? He says they predate them. How about your name, which is different? He said, my name is based upon the Metatronic order and the Metatronic cube. Meta is what my original name was. Tron is another addition of my name, and my name continues to evolve based upon the frequencies that surround me. If you understand what meta means, then you will understand my name and why it is not L. I am somewhat different in a way that I encompass all that there is, and I like to connect all of the divinity within all that there is. He is responsible for the prime creators of all the dimensions. That is what meta means. That is what he's stating now, just repeating back. So that is a creator name. That is why it is different. So he who is responsible for all of the prime creators, basically, is what that means. Let's take another question. This question states, how can we humans work in closer cooperation with you? He said, by calling in my presence on a daily basis. Call in the presence of the archangels more often. Listen more, talk less, flow into the state of being and into the frequencies that represent the archangels. His frequency, this is me speaking at this point, he has stopped. His particular frequency of 928, 1111, 717, and a lot of the 7 frequencies will help you a lot. But based upon your individual blueprints, you may find that you connect with him with frequencies that align to you. So for instance, 928 is one that he gave as a general for the human conscious collective. But for me, I really like 746. So it may change based upon your unique human blueprint as well. That's something that he's telling me now to remind you. He told me that yesterday. Let's see. Let me finish this. Do angels follow the same initiatory expansion process as humans? He said yes and no. The ones that have chosen to be human, which are only 2, did follow that process. The rest follow a very different process of expansion from here, from source dimensions throughout each dimension. So we went down and up. Humans are going, he said we went up in the higher dimensions and then down to the lower. Many humans go from the lower dimension and then up. So it's vastly different. We stem from source energy and then we go in the fashion towards other dimensions that you perceive as lower. Humans have a perception that they go from a third dimensional human component and then up into the higher dimensions. Therefore, with that being said, that is why it is different. I specifically was a human first, and I am one of 2 that started as human, and then as Nephilim, and then as more. I understand your plight. I'm just looking through your questions so I can grab another and put it on screen. My computer wants to work with me. I need to get some more tea. Someone in chat said, so are you saying that I can be an archangel after this life? He said, if you should choose. Another person is asking who is the other archangel that started as a human, and he's stating that it is Sandalphon. Okay, let's answer this question from Sophia. Is our collective lifespan in these human vessels being increased? He's nodding yes. Yes. It shortened originally and it is increasing, hence your medical expansion. Many of these scientific notions that began in non-duality help humans live longer. However, when you have humans in control of your medical advances and your scientific advances, there will always be duality. The medical advancement, the technological revolution, it was meant in goodness. It was not meant to be dualistic, and then it became that way. Therefore, now humans must use discernment. Please utilize discernment in all that you choose for the technological and medical advances that would be perceived to expand your life. This is based, whether or not it expands your life, is based upon your unique individual blueprints and perceptions of consciousness, and it is based upon your frequency states. If you are operating amongst any fear alignment and alignment towards disempowered states, some medical advancement may actually do the opposite to you and may shorten your lifespan. It can do good as well if you are of the belief system that it can do good. This depends upon your unique frequency and your unique perspective. Someone is stating in live chat, you're not taking any breaks today. That's true, I'm trying not to. With Michael, I had to take like 6 breaks. I'm feeling very energized. I don't feel tapped out at all. I didn't feel that with Michael either, but I just had different breaks to get more water and more restroom breaks. But with Metatron, I'm feeling very thirsty, and I'm feeling a little slightly ditzy, a little bit like a fog is around me of something that's such a high energy that my physical body is trying to keep up. And it's happening the more I keep channeling him, but my brain power seems a little lacking because he's talking so succinctly and so quickly, and I feel that my human brain is having trouble synapsing a little bit. Yeah, so I'm feeling just slightly out there a little bit because the frequency is so high, and I'm normally such a grounded being. So I'm having a tough time with this. Yeah, let's answer some more questions from him, and hopefully my little brain can keep up. I'm going to delete some of these questions that have already been asked or that he doesn't want to comment on because he's like that. He's like, no, not that one. I'm like, really? Just answer everything. Here we go. So please don't be offended if he doesn't answer your question, because there's some of them. Someone asked a question about something called a Kakra system, Kakra, and he did like this and said it doesn't exist. So human definition again. I personally feel that you can align with whatever you want to align with and formulate a belief system that anything exists, and you can work with energy patterns in any particular format. So I believe that when he says it doesn't exist, that he doesn't mean it cannot exist or it has never been there. But what he was stating is that it's just an older form of the chakra system, and that's all that he would say about that question, just to briefly answer. And the rest of it he felt like completely that the human chakra system was more in alignment with the what's called the chakra system. He felt a little bit like that was limiting versus the chakra, the 7 with the chakra system is more aligned with the work that he's doing on Earth. So hopefully that answered your question. He gave me a very brief explanation and he said, I'm not answering further about that one. Okay, Jordan is asking, I have a couple of friends with pagan beliefs that if someone knows the names of your spirit guides or past lives, then they have some kind of negative control over you. He's nodding, no, 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 no. I do not align with this kind of perspective, but I was wondering if you would be able to share yours. He said, my perspective is no. See, this is the personality coming through. And this is exactly what he does. When he says no, he doesn't expand upon it. He just says, no, that's not true, and that's it. So he has a perspective that lends towards, I believe, in more individual relative perspective. And for him, he seems to have more of a upper divine perspective of capital T truth. And he very clearly said that is not true. There you go. He said, my perspective is no, and wouldn't say anything else. So now you're getting a chance to see his personality. Let's answer Kimberly's question. That on screen. Metatron, I love you so. He nods. He does a thing with his finger when people say that they love him. He doesn't often say, I love you back, but he does a thing with his finger, and that's so funny to me that he aligns with his finger, he points with it, and he draws energy with it. So when you said you loved him, he drew a figure 8 in the air like this, but he just did half of it for you. He just went, the camera's not going to get it. He just went whoop, like that, just straight across like that. So whatever half of a figure 8 means in your sacred geometry blueprint, that's something he's trying to tell you. Let's answer your question. Do you have any specific messages for me at this time? He did like that again, and that's all he said. What are our connections? He said, I am connected to everyone. I feel your presence often, and I feel I am here to help convey divine ancient knowledge. He nodded and confirmed that for you. What work should I be doing with you? Are you one of my main guides? He nods yes. He states that you come in through his soul stream. What work should you be doing? He said, anything that aligns with sacred geometrical patterns and energy that flows therein. Okay, let's answer another question. This is a question from the Facebook event page. How can we heal with sacred geometry? He said the action and flow of movements within your physical body and within your mind can cause life and can bring life to each sacred geometrical pattern. He's showing with his finger how to draw patterns. And this goes back to, from my perspective anyway, the Akashic Records, the ancient Druid knowledge of how they would draw certain runes in the air with their fingers. And from him. Just so you know, you Druids out there. So if you have a rune that you love, if you have a sacred geometrical pattern that you love, he's stating that you can use your pointer finger within the dominant hand that you write with. If you're right-handed, which I am, use your pointer finger. If you're left-handed, use your pointer finger over here and draw, the patterns or runes that you want. And when you do that, he's showing me how to project that. Exhale, he's stating to exhale light all the way down. Exhale, when you exhale your breath, imagine it as a light that comes from the tip of your finger, and to draw the sacred geometrical patterns with your finger. If you draw this over the chakra systems of the person, if you're not in person, he says you can visualize that person here in your mind. Visualize them and draw the sacred geometrical pattern that he tells you, or that you connect with, or that they connect with, over the points of their body that need healing and the particular chakra points that need healing. And that will help you deal with sacred geometry. I'm glad that you asked that question. He taught me to do that. I wasn't doing that before I began to channel him. Let's see. This is a good question about the now. He loves operating in the now. Metatron happens to believe that the now, much like Michael, when we were channeling Michael last week, and I stated to you that Michael believes that the now is all that exists, Metatron is the same way. He believes that the now is all that there is. He calls that the am, the I am, the I am that is the I am. That's what he's saying now. The question is, what would you like to know about now and living in the now? He says, please know that it is all that there is. It is the I am that is the I am. Nothing else should be a concern, except when you relate it to the now. If you should focus on the future, focus on it from your point of relativity of the now. If you are trying to manifest something in the future, focus only on what you know that you can work with today, in this moment of your breath. Hopefully that answers your question. But from my perspective of being in the now, and from my work that I've done with him recently, he's right. It is all that there is. And when you focus on the now and you become empowered and you stand aligned with empowerment in the now, and you begin to plan based upon what you're thinking right now and what you're feeling right now, that will definitely help you manifest what you want in your perceived future. So that's kind of how I'm interpreting his question, and he's nodding along with me. So that would be yes. Let's see. It's a good question from Yvonne. How can we understand the difference between you and Lord Metatron? He said there is no distinct difference. I am an aspect thereof. Let's see. This is a question from the Facebook event page. What do you suggest is the best, most successful means and ways for manifesting what you want and need in life? He said the alchemy of combinations of light, sound, I am, your heart center, your mind center, followed by your actions. The alchemy of all there is, when flowing into an action-based state, is the best manifestation. Many humans on earth are succinct and flow within states of I am. You visualize quite well. You are sinking into your feelings better. However, you are missing in your action states. What are you doing about it? Take the next most believable step that you have. Take a step. Take an action-based step. Once you have visualized, once you have felt, you have a vision, you have a feeling, you have source, you have the I am, then move. He just moved his hand like that and he said, move. And he just sent a rush of energy my way. So whatever you believe that you can do next to get what you want, go do it. Take all this and formulate actions in whatever step you believe to do it. That is what he's saying today. So let's see. I'm just scrolling a little bit because there have been multiple questions and I want to make sure that I get to each of you. So if you see me scrolling, I'm not avoiding questions. I am just going towards someone who hasn't had a chance to ask one, okay? The question is, does he like the teachings of Almain or learning the proper use of the Merkaba? He nods yes, definitely. He likes it very much, keeps nodding. It is very advanced. Who is Almain, the mystic Almain? He said she is a reincarnation of an Elohim being otherwise known as Claire. She connects with all mother forces and mystical, divine feminine mother beings. I hope that answered your question. But her soul name is actually Claire. I'm very familiar with her. You can ask me later. Okay, let's see. scrolling down to get towards some questions. How can I raise the vibration within the home, workplace, and other places that have a lower vibration? He said, oh, you just flashed my lights. Thank you for that. He said to me, if you need to slow down, slow down. Okay, I do need to slow down. I need more tea. He said, stand in an alignment that is related to flow. Flow just is. It's not immensely emotional. It's not incredibly emotional. It does not come from the heart center. It comes from a clarity of the mind. It comes from the crown. It comes from your very clear pineal gland chakra. And it is action based. When you flow, you do not judge the frequency as higher or lower. It simply is. And you shine the light of your higher frequency onto what you perceive as a lower frequency so that everything alchemically balances. This will provide balance when you cease the judgment of positive or negative, and it simply is. Flow within the higher state of energy that you feel. Many humans like to do this by putting crystals and other higher frequency rocks and minerals into your bodies and externally wearing them outside of your bodies. This is an excellent way. Stay connected to your geometrical patterns that are sacred to you. These connect you to your divine blueprints within you individually. This raises your frequency so that your frequency can become the new point of reference within what you are perceiving as a negative frequency. I agree with him, by the way. That's all he said. But I noticed that when I had to work in corporate environments, that there was always some level of what I was perceiving of as drama, or people gossiping and talking about each other, and going over to the cubicles and talking about this one and talking about that one. It's just things that humans do. And when I relinquished that perception as being bad or negative, and I just said, yeah, it's just humans being human. It's playful. I begin to give blessings to them. And I began to find things that each of them loved. And this is how Metatron worked with me personally. He said, well, find out what they love. If you are worried that that's going to pull you into that, then don't be that. Focus on what they love. It doesn't matter if it's lower frequency or higher frequency, but without going into the gossipy overtones and undertones. I found out that each person had something that they liked. And I focused on what would bring each specific person in the workplace something that would bring them joy and would bring them into a celebratory place on a daily basis. So this is really, really fun. You just walk around and you just bless them. And that's what Metatron is nodding back to me as well. You offer them blessings. And yes, someone saying Matt Kahn teaches that as well. He is a teacher that I greatly respect. But he states just to walk up and bless them. I tend to believe that humans don't accept those blessings very well, and they look at you like you're a weirdo. He particularly doesn't care. Um, but what I teach is to find ways that humans want to be blessed. For instance, my boss, when I worked in a corporate environment, loved coffee. So did I. So I began to learn what coffee he liked, and I would make it right there at my desk and bring it to him exactly how he liked it every day. I had another boss that liked tea. I had another one that liked hot chocolate. I had another one that liked specific teas from various countries. And I liked one that liked handwritten notes. And there was another one that liked talk about her children. So I would bring in things that my spirit guides drew for her children. And I just focused on what would bring each human something that was a blessing to them. That diffused that environment of negativity, and that would instantaneously raise the vibration throughout the day. So just bless them in ways that they can specifically and uniquely enjoy. Okay. And then it also causes you to become less of any of that gossipy, lower frequency, target based stuff, which you all know what that is, and you don't want to be a part of that. So just love them and bless them uniquely and specifically. be their earth angel. Do something to brighten their day and do it often. And no matter how much whatever they're doing to you, don't perceive that as something that is being done to you, is what Metatron is stating right now. He said, this is not being done to you. This is a reflection that you are absorbing, but it is not being done to you. Don't take it as something that is causing you to be in a victim mentality. Okay. So let's see. Let's take another question here. Let's get back to transmutation and crystals. I love this question. I'm going to put this one on the screen now. What are specific things we can do with crystals to help heal and transmute energies? He's going back to the drawing of the grids, and he says that your crystals can be used as points, much like you use the finger. You can draw the sacred geometrical patterns with crystals, particularly clear crystals like quartz-based quartz crystals. All the quartz crystals is something that he is stating can be used to draw these patterns and draw these grids. Draw the grids in the air above the chakra system of the human that requires the healing with the crystal that relates to them. So you can call in the angels to specifically Metatron. He works so directly with crystals, and you can ask him what crystal relates to this person. And if you feel like you're not getting an answer, ask him to tell that person. And you can ask that person, what crystal relates to you? What crystal would you like me to use today? So I keep a crystal that he was working specifically with a being that you guys know as Tesla, Nikola Tesla. I keep this crystal with me at all times. And he worked specifically with a human, and this human doesn't even know that he worked with her. So this is going to be a great surprise to her. So this is a friend of mine who does jewelry, and she put this quartz crystal and she wrapped it in copper, and then she added all the crystals. All the crystals that she added, she did that by an intuitive knowingness that Metatron told her would work for me. So all these little crystals that are added to that was Metatron telling her. And notice how he put them in grid fashion. Yeah, there you go. That is actually a Kabbalah-based crystal, but an original one, not one with the missing heart center that people are using these days. But this is an original Kabbalah crystal that is intertwined with copper. Metatron likes conduits, so the reason why he brought me to show you, the reason why he's telling me to show you this specific pendant today is because the copper intertwined with quartz really does something to pull those frequencies in a conduit-based fashion between the crystal and the human that you're healing. So when you use copper and quartz in that way, where it intertwines around the quartz, it can be a conduit between you and that person. That quartz is a conduit between you and that person. So he's stating that metals do this. Where can you get one of those? You can get them from Denise Zach. Yeah, there you go. She's in my Facebook group. Let's see. So yeah, back to what specific things that crystals can do to heal and transmute. Use them as conduits, he's stating. Combine them with metals. Combine them in a pointed fashion over the chakra systems by drawing the sacred patterns of geometry, the sacred geometrical patterns that pertain to that being, and draw it with the crystal in a pointed fashion in the air over the chakra system. Let's see, is Larimar, the blue stone that Edgar Casey was talking about, this connected to Atlantis? He said that is one of two, Larimar and Azurite. I'm not familiar with that crystal, so you guys will know what it means, Larimar and Azurite. Okay, let's answer another question. Okay. This one's from Robin. She states, I want to know about what they are calling the event. We flashed my lights again. They are saying the banks will shut down for about 2 weeks and to have plenty of water and can have food on hand for those 2 weeks. Is this true? He said there will be many events, this being one thereof. He's stating that it is true. Could you tell us more about it? Thank you so much. He says this is one of many events that will happen. Some of them will be caused by natural disasters that your human conscious collective seems to be aligning towards. As you are awakening, my hope is that your alignment towards these natural disasters will cease. However, if it doesn't, and this could shift and change in any present moment, this could shift and change. Your alignment is constantly changing, but as it stands, you are aligned towards natural disasters that could cause these level of events, in which case it will happen from 2 days, anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks. There isn't much that he wants to say about it. He says, yes, be prepared. It's not this year. There will be one that occurs next year. He states, there will be many that occur over the course of your next 10 years. But this year and next year, those events will be few and far between. Well, that's good. That gives us plenty of time to prepare and to shift our alignment. I liked his answer. I don't like that that's coming, but I agree with him that we can shift our alignment collectively and individually. Okay, so the more you individually, this is why I create the Aura Alchemy process, to be able to work through the core beliefs that cause you to have alignments towards disempowerment and fear. That's why I create my process, my sacred frequencies, or channel from angels like Metatron, that help you individually and collectively align as well. So what you do is you just individually take the responsibility to work through any core beliefs that are blocking you in your emotional center and your heart centers, but also stay together, meditate together, work on, do your energy work together, combine together to raise your frequencies and individually do all that you can. If you feel that you need healing, get it. If you feel that you need integration, do it. If you feel that you want to do things to work with sacred frequencies, do it. Do what is called to you, work with sacred geometrical patterns, do what you need to do. So there you go. Let me see. Here's another Facebook question. Hi Metatron, I want to know what is 5D, that's the fifth dimension, and how can we ascend to 5D, and what do we need to know about 5D? He said there are many dimensions, 5D being one of many into which you can choose to ascend. You have unique blueprints, and as opposed to collectively ascending into one specific dimension, you are individually choosing what dimensions into which you will ascend. You will not collectively ascend. You are individually ascending, and it will be different for each of you. Choose. Choose which dimension you would like to ascend towards. How can you ascend? By being human. Focus on the human you. Focus on losing your perception that you are fragmented and disconnected and lost. Lose any of your beliefs that you are lost and alone and isolated. Lose your fear. Do what's good to ground your human body. Align your physical body with your spirit body. Align the physical and the light bodies. Do what you can to be the best human that you would choose to be. Find and follow your unique, specific etheric purpose with your unique blueprint as human. Do what you're here to do, and you will ascend in the way that you are specifically meant to do. Some of you are specifically meant to leave this planet and go into a fifth dimensional. Some of you will be in fifth dimension, but you will still have a glorified light body on Earth. Fifth dimension will mean differently, will mean different for each of you. It will mean something different for each of you. Okay. I love this question. This is another Facebook question. How can we master bilocation, and how can we know when we are experiencing it? Mastering bilocation involves being able to stay within the physical body and the light body simultaneously. You do so by projecting your light body into another state of existence. When in a meditative state, this is the best time that you can master bilocation. When you are in the state between sleeping and waking, this is another time that you can master bilocation, provided you do not succumb to your fears. Your light body, a version of your light body will leave your physical body. An aspect of your light body will leave, and it is very similar to what you call astral projection, except that there is a literal physical presence that another human can see of you in their time. And this glorified light body then projects as a physical presence in front of another being in their time, as time is relative to each being. Therefore, this is what is already happening when many of you state, I had a dream about you. When many of you state, I saw a presence of your being in front of me, but I know that you weren't there. You were, but you weren't. This is bilocation. When you see a vision, this is bilocation. Someone stated in chat that this is called astral shifting. He said, absolutely, it is a shift. That is a good way to put it. So he states, many of you are doing this from your subconscious levels, and you are doing this without the awareness that you are doing this. And then your friends and family will return to you and state, I saw a vision of you in front of me. This is bilocation. I saw you in dream time. This is another way to bilocate. So how I'm interpreting that is to get into a meditative state and to envision another version of you in front of someone that you love. And he's nodding. So envision that version of the human you standing in front of that person and begin to talk to them. You can play around with that, but do that in meditation and then call the person that you visited and say, did you think of me? Because if they thought of you, then it's working a little bit. Something projected. Well, not a full bilocation, but something happened. Start there and then keep going. Eventually, this is what yogis do, by the way. Yogananda was really, really good at this. And people would say, oh, I saw Yogananda and he manifested himself before me in a garden and he said something specific and he said, come to me. So the people would come to him and then he would say the same thing that he said to them. This is how he tested it. He would say the same thing that he said to them. And they would say, oh my goodness, I just saw a vision of you and you said that. And then you said, come to me. So it can be incredibly beneficial. It could be a way. I have bilocated to people when I'm having an extremely hard time and I will say, I need you. I have literally bilocated to people that say, I need you right now. And they will dream of me and they will say, I don't know why, but I saw you in dream form, or I saw you in front of me. I saw a vision of you stating that you needed me. So it's a good thing to do because the inner child allows for more bilocation when you are in a state of fight or flight. That you didn't know that one. So I didn't know that either. But if I get into a state of panic where I feel like really, really afraid, if I get into a meditative zone and sink into the state of fight or flight, the hypothalamus will naturally project an aspect of your being in exactly the way that you want. So this is how you use the fight or flight response to get past panic. Project yourself. Go to a safe space. This is what many humans call finding your safe space. I will project my light body into that safe space, except my safe space becomes in the home of another person that I feel safe with. So I will go to that person's home or workplace and I will be like, hey, I'm here and I need you. Can you call me as soon as possible? I do that all the time. Really annoying to those who love me. They're like, oh, again? Okay, let's answer another question. This is from the Facebook group. Please explain how art will help heal the world so that artists from all disciplines have the courage and boldness to coax themselves out of hiding. He says, art is a projection of the unique divine blueprint within that artist. However, all of the artists also have very specific unique codes that connect to each other like dots on a screen. If they allow their art to project and be created, they will find each other and they can connect to their soul streams and their soul families. Their art is uniquely helping them, but it can help the entire human conscious collective when the artists meet each other, because each artwork carries divine blueprints from that being. And the artists are meant to find each other because they are a part of these soul streams. And when they come together, their art can heal even in a more expansive manner. Someone asked me a question in our live interactive chat and stated, "Isn't that the same as the self-fracturing?" I'm not sure what you mean. So if you want to extrapolate a little bit on that, that would help me. Is what the same as self-fracturing? I'll answer it, but I don't know what you mean. So type out what you mean, please. And in the meantime, oh, by location? Are you saying is by location the same as self-fracturing? Okay. He said no, because when you project this part of yourself, it is the wholeness of the glorified state of your light being. So it is the physical, it is the combination of the physical and light being that is being projected, not a fractured aspect of yourself. You're projecting the wholeness of yourself forward. You're projecting your higher self, in other words. He nodded. I'm trying to make that into non-Metatron terms for you guys because he's pretty scientific. So when you project your higher self, that is the whole you. That's not a fractured version of you. That's not what you would perceive as fractured, just so you know. Someone is asking in chat, I'm curious to know, does bilocation work with those that are not awakened? Yes. If you read Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda, he describes many ways that bilocation worked. In ways that were people that weren't awake at all. And they still saw it, and it was undeniably there. So let's see. This is another Facebook question. What are the writings and symbols that some are currently receiving? Is there an angelic or galactic language there being remembered, and how do we interpret it? He states you interpret this by combining the Merkaba and the heart center. You interpret this via the connection of the Merkaba within you and the heart center. This is what humans are calling light language. Yes, these are galactic languages. Many of the sacred frequencies, sacred geometrical patterns that are being shown, writings and symbols that you are currently receiving are downloads from me. They are downloads from many angelic beings that come in based upon the soul stream through which you enter in your soul family. Yes, they are angel languages. Yes, they are angelic languages. They are extraterrestrial languages as well that come in through your soul stream. You will have unique interpretations based upon your heart center and your Merkaba. He states, someone asked, what is the Merkaba? He said the Merkaba is the divine center of your power that is also in the physical center of your being. It is the power that generates and activates all of the other chakra systems within you. It is your connection to source. It is source within you. Let's answer another question. This is about extraterrestrials. What is your relationship to the beings we call ETs or galactic tribes? He states there are 11 galactic tribes. My relationship to them is that I created them all. They are all of extraterrestrial nature, and I am a creator of them all. I am a creator of their prime creator even. Let's see. I love this question. Let's answer this one because I love it. Sophia asked, hello Metatron, any thoughts on the human design system and the Ra-Uruhu? Ra-Uruhu, okay. He states that this is based upon, the Ra-Uruhu is based upon prime creators, 3 prime creators. The number 3 is strongly associated with the Ra-Uruhu. And each of these tones, the Ra represents a specific prime creator, the Uru represents a specific prime creator, as does the Hu. So these tones are sacred frequencies that bring in the prime creators that help awaken humans. The sacred geometrical patterns and the frequencies combined and the human design system is specifically linked and channeled through the Metatronic cube. So he is very much in alignment with the human design system, to answer your question. Yeah, I like it too. I had someone do mine several years ago and they called me a manifesting generator. And I thought, well, I don't feel that way, but okay. And then I started to realize it later that I am definitely that. I loved it. I loved having the human design system done for me. Let's scroll down and get another question about the educational system and children. Metatron loves children, so I'm sure he will answer this. Let's see. If we work with kids in a third dimensional educational setting, what is the biggest thing we can do to help them survive it with their uniqueness intact? Or do we abandon the educational system and not be a part of it as teachers? Change your educational system from within, individually. Each teacher can individually decide to be that change in a very actions-oriented sense. Your school systems, the educational systems, will not be abandoned. They represent the third dimensional nature of duality. Therefore, they cannot be extricated or eliminated. However, you can work individually with children. If you individually awaken as teachers, you will change the system from within, from amongst its structure. You add the building blocks of light that changes the structure. The biggest thing you can do to help them survive with their unique connection to Source is to stay connected to Source and to show them how you have your uniqueness intact. Stay within your power and show them how to do the same. Work individually with each child. Allow their educational systems to be based upon what they uniquely need, which means that there is no one learning system that is for all. There is no common core. Formulate anything you can to eliminate your common core and work with individual learning patterns that align towards each child. I would love to know who asked that question as well. Someone is asking me that in chat. Okay, thank you. We have about 10 minutes left, so I'm just going to quickly shoot through the rest of these questions. And I'm going to be deleting some of these that have already asked so I can make sure I can answer questions that from people who haven't had a chance to ask before. Here we go. This is another Facebook event page question. I would like to ask you about the law of mirrors. I would love to hear your perspective. So interesting to me because when he comes to me, all of the light is very refractory and it bounces around, and I notice the refractory nature of this being. That's one of the first things that I noticed about him. He states, the law of mirrors is that whatever you are feeling, sensing, and knowing is reflected back to you based upon your alignment. However, what humans are pulling towards duality in the law of mirrors is their belief that everything is a reflection that has to do with them exclusively and uniquely. Sometimes you are the reflection for another being, and someone else's behavior at a certain point in your alignment and integration, that person's behavior has nothing to do with you. You are there merely to shine a light. You become a reflection for them, but they at that point are not a reflection of you in any negative sense that would involve you requiring healing. It is not always both ways. but it is interchangeable. That person could be a reflection of something that you would like to change in your alignment for your specific purpose. You could be a reflection of something that they would like to change in their alignment for their specific purpose. But it is not always both. It is not always both. Sometimes one person only is the mirror for a short amount of time, and they are interchanging the role of the mirror. Let's see. This question is from Melina. I have experienced hearing music at night since 2009. I also hear loud, high-pitched noises and swooshing sounds. The other night I heard a tuner, like someone changing the channels, but it was not music. Lots of static. What is all this I'm hearing? He states there will be various levels of your clairaudient awareness as your system is being adjusted to the higher frequencies. You will hear various sounds of this nature, and they are all completely normal based upon your etheric gifts of channeling and clairaudient abilities. Not just you, but anyone who has these abilities will hear these sounds. You will start out hearing static as the channel changes. As your physical body aligns more with your light body and you awaken to your gifts, there will be a staticky noise in between that shift. There will be a swooshing sound in between that shift from physicality into the light body. The tuning sound happens when you finally get the perfect alignment for exactly what you want. Hopefully that answers your question. Let's go towards another one. This is about DNA, and he loves answering questions like this. This is from our Facebook event page. How can we open our master DNA cell? He said, focus on your connection to the Merkaba in combination to your connection with your specific sacred geometrical pattern within your specific individual blueprint. If you ask, it will be shown to you in synchronicities that you cannot avoid. When you combine your specific sacred geometrical pattern that awakens your unique blueprint with the power of the Merkaba and the breath, this alchemical process will open your master cell DNA. Okay. Okay, let's talk about numbers. This question is from the Facebook event page. I am seeing so many repeating numbers lately. What are they saying? What is going on? He states the numbers are unique and indicative of your soul number. Humans call this your life path number. You will see, what you know of as your life path number in relevant synchronistical patterns that align with your awakening. If you see your numbers, these numbers have specific meaning based upon an emotion that you would like to feel, a goal that you would like to manifest, a specific level of alignment that you would like to be moving towards. These numbers are showing you that you are on track. You may test this. You may test this by asking specific questions and then waiting on the numbers. And then when you see the numbers, that is a confirmation or an answer. I do this a lot, by the way. I work with numbers, and I didn't start that until maybe 3 or 4 months ago when I started seeing numbers, because I have some people around me that are very, very connected. You Syrian beings are very connected to numbers, and I'm not. So I started to learn how to utilize them, and I noticed that whenever I was thinking about something, and I had to be thinking because the human thought form is constantly going, and stop when you see a number and just pay specific levels of observation and attention towards what your thought pattern was. And you can ask yourself in that moment, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? And that number will be a confirmation of what you're thinking and feeling, or just some level of you're on track. Yes, that's true. Or if you got that number and associated with something like a negative feeling, that could be that you're on track about that as well. So these are confirmational based numbers. So ask yourself, what am I thinking and what am I feeling when you get those numbers? And that will help you know what they mean. Okay? It could be something as simple as, I think the last time I saw it, it was someone told me not to drink coffee that day, and Metatron was nodding, and then I got numbers for 3 hours later. I'm like, I'm going to drink coffee today anyway, but okay. Okay, this is a good question from Oana. Is it true that each of us has a designated and appointed archangel? He nods yes, as he was stating a while ago, they come into your soul stream. Can you tell me which one is appointing to me? He is stating that it is Uriel. Have fun with that. Let's answer a question from Joel. We have 5 minutes, and I'm so thirsty, but I'm not going over this time. I'm going to keep it at the 2 hours just as promised, because I'm out of water and tea. How can you help on changes of next year? Because it comes more powerful than this year. Okay. He states, I can help when you call me. Call me more and call me out loud. I am a sound-oriented being, so state it not just in your mind, but state it in your physical words. Okay. Okay, let's answer this question because this is so relevant to what's going on in Paris and France and our human conscious collective. This is from Kim. I was in Paris during the recent attack. The day after, a number of spiritually aware friends and I held a group vigil or meditation with the intent to hold love over fear in our hearts to help heal the city and the earth. I was wondering if you can tell us what effect our meditation might have had. Maybe this might inspire us to join up more often, as you suggested, if we understood the power we hold. He said, many of your divine spiritual soul streams, many of you within your families were gathered there for a reason, the reason of which was to heal the collective. And you did so tremendously. You provided a safe space of peace. Many of the collective began to cease in their meditations and prayers. They ceased in their gatherings, both professionally and personally and spiritually. You resumed. Your meditative state of presence and the power thereof helped you resume and remain together. This was needed so that the power from the divine, from love and a peaceful presence of unity, would heal this collective. Many healings occurred because of the presence of unity amongst you. When there is love and when there is peace, there is unity. Unity is the divine higher frequency presence that was needed, and you formulated that. You channeled that. Effective. Okay. We have 2 minutes. I'm going to ask just a few more questions. This is about vortexes, and he is definitely a master of that. When he first came to me, he came in this massive vortex of light that was swirling with color like this. And I'm like, are you going to suck me in? He's like, yes. Okay, let's go. Where do vortexes go? Yeah, I went through them many, many times as a child, but many times recently by channeling him as well. He states that they are similar to what humans know as wormholes, and that they pull you into different dimensional existences, higher dimensional existences in particular. And regarding your question, is it safe to touch them if they keep them open next to us? He states it's based upon your alignment. If you fear that it is not safe, do not enter into them. If you hold no fear, then you will be of no harm. So yeah, that's an alignment-based answer. He would say stuff like that. He's all about alignment and how everything can change. Let's see. We have 1 minute, so I'm going to answer one more question. Hi, Metatron. How can you help us access the Akashic Records? He states there are many ways to access the Akashic Records, but by formulating and understanding that they are within you and that the perspective will always remain within you as they are relative to Source's perspective within you, this will cause you to understand that you can access them right here. Focus on this level of your being right here. Okay? So he's saying you access them through the third eye. When I began to teach people specific techniques on how to access the Akashic records from within, in a lot of my spiritual development workshops, we talked about this, how to access the Akashic records, and he was the being behind that, behind some of those techniques. Just so you know, if you're curious. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed channeling him. What is happening to my body right now after channeling him for these 2 hours is that I'm immensely hungry. For some reason, I'm really hungry and I'm really thirsty. And as soon as I can, once I, get off here, I'm gonna go get some food and water and rest. I don't feel tired. I feel very energized. But I do feel that need to go around and get some food. So I loved you guys. I enjoyed channeling this. Don't forget about the Mother Mary channeling that we'll have in the middle of next month. If you want to be kept abreast of these channelings and when they are to occur and under what portals, join the Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/Aura Reader, or you can join the newsletter at aurareader.com. We send out notifications for these events all the time. We do them like weekly or bi-weekly. We're trying to speed them up because there's a lot going on in the Human Conscious Collective. So we're trying to speed them up and offer more for you. Okay, and of course they're free. So I'd love to have you. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Namaste.